I can still remember that at that time I was just graduated from the university, and my knowledge is just about music, and I minor in Chinese language. Okay, so I was assigned to be the music chair, the chair of music panel. Actually, I was the only music teacher. Okay, but I have to do some administration. At least I have to take the meeting minutes, something, and I have to conduct a choir after class. I have to be the coordinator of all the extracurricular activities, because at that time there are not too many teachers who got a degree. Okay, first a bachelor degree. Okay, so I was assigned by the principal to be coordinating all the extracurricular activities. But actually, I was so young at that time, and I was inexperienced at all about teaching and education. Okay, and I remember that my first difficulty was about music teaching, because I had no idea about any music education or pedagogy issues. To be honest, I didn't know how to teach. The only thing I can do was just to tell the students what I know. And during the class, I taught many very difficult things like notation, which is boring also. So it was quite difficult for me, and the students were not very interested about music. Just to tell them classical music. Another thing is, classical art, Western art music, which is boring also for them. Okay, so but I think teaching music should be, this is the formal and official curriculum. Okay, so I taught that for a year, which is not very successful, I think. Another thing is about student discipline. As I mentioned, some of the students came from quite not a very good background. For example, they got one parent only at home. Maybe their parents divorced, or one of them passed away. So, and they came from very poor families, and they maybe after class they had to go to do some part-time jobs. So they had no intention to really work hard in their study. I remember there were two boys in the class. They behaved very badly in the classroom. Normally, first of all, they didn't hand in any assignments. I taught them Chinese language apart from music, because I'm the class teacher of that class. Okay, and every day I met the students. I taught them every day in Chinese, and sometimes in music. Okay, so I have to mark the assignments, and in Chinese language is one of the major subjects in secondary school, but these two boys, they never submit any assignments. So I think my responsibility is to make sure that they were learning. So I try to urge them to submit, and I try to keep them after class, because at that time we could not do any so-called punishment. The only thing we can do as teacher, as taught by the principal, was that you can only do that by sustain them. Okay, keep them after class, so that they will maybe do the homework. Okay, and I still remember one day, and after class, I stay in the classroom. Okay, and I urge one of the boys to stay and do the homework, and I just look at him and, please do it now. And he refused to do it, and he just came out to the classroom. I couldn't, because I was so young and inexperienced, I would say. So I didn't know how to respond. I was just stay there, and then he gone. It was really a bad feeling at that time, because I felt that it was such a failure for me as a teacher. I told the so-called disciplinary master, who is one of the teachers focusing on disciplinary issues at the school. Okay, and after this it happened just in my first, maybe the second or third month of my career. Okay, so I didn't know how to really deal with that kind of situation. And after that, I told to that colleague, and he was very experienced about that. And from that time, he started to do something, a kind of mentoring or tutoring about how to deal with that situation. He emphasized that you have to really do it in both ways. One is ask the students to follow the school rules, but on the other hand, you have to do some mercy for students, because you have to understand their background. You have to understand their difficulties and try to put your position, or imagine that you were the student. Then you will understand more. So I remember after 1 or 2 weeks' time, I asked her to see his parent, the student's parent. And actually, at that time, I knew that he just got a grandfather at home without any parents, just one grandpa. And I invited the grandpa to school and had a meeting, and understood that actually his parents just left him and gone. So it's a very poor family. And this grandpa was just taking care of this poor child. Okay, so and then I started to understand. Okay, this is a really, and this boy had no expectation for himself. He didn't think about anything about his future. So I tried to ask him to do good and try to help him in a better manner. Okay, at that time, but and our relationship was a bit better. Okay, so but I left this school just for the first year, because I was considering whether I was suitable to be a teacher.